I felt like a baby sparrow shivering in front of a snake. We filed into the cantina, and our host told Conejo about Jason Bourne in the YouTube video, and here I was, running from the police. My companions all understood the rapid-fire Spanish a lot better than I did, and looked at me with awe and fear that I felt I didn't deserve. Conejo's eyes appraised me, and he thought for a moment. Finally, he said, "Take him to the hotel. Get them cleaned up and bring him back here. Put a watch on all the others." We were escorted down the road to a tall but unimpressive house and given 3 rooms to divide ourselves into. Mariví tried to go with the 2 Mayan women, but I took her hand to lead her into the one I claimed for myself. She didn't seem too happy about it, but came without causing a fuss. Once inside, with the door locked, I told her that she and the others had to get away as quickly as they could. I'd try and cause a diversion when I went back to the bar, and they would have to slip out of the hotel and steal a car or something. I took out one of the pistols, showed her how it worked, and handed it to her. When she had it in her hand, she seemed to relax. We were equal enough now, and she knew I wouldn't try to force her to do something, which, since we were lovers, didn't make much sense to me, but hey, that's women for you. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "Take a shower," I said. "Brush my teeth, then try to die like a man." A little melodramatic, but so what? It was that kind of a day. I went in the bathroom to get cleaned up, and I guess I'd said the right thing because she got into the shower with me. When my escort banged on the door, Mariví held me tight, her warm body pressed against mine. I wasn't in a hurry to leave, and I held her as if I'd never let her go. But the knocks continued, and I had to answer. I waited for her to get under the sheets with the gun in her hand, just in case, and opened the door with a towel wrapped around me. "Come on," they said, pushing their way into the room. Then, "Oh," when they saw. "Let me put my clothes on," I muttered, and they stepped back outside. I gave Mariví one long kiss, got dressed, kissed her again quickly, and walked out of her life forever. I went back into the cantina with my heart in my mouth, the last pistol stuffed into the waist of my jeans at the small of my back. I think that they believed, since I'd given up the empty gun, that I didn't have a backup piece. Thank you, God. Thinking maybe this was my destiny. Maybe the chain of events leading up to me being here was set in motion so I'd be the one to stop the violence and evil here in Mexico. Maybe I was supposed to be here, not eking out a pointless existence in suburbia somewhere, but sacrificing myself for a greater good. Sometimes you need a reason to keep living, and there's no better reason in times like those than revenge. If there was ever a better motivation to hold on to body and breath other than love, I haven't seen it. Or maybe this was one of those times I needed to justify my own existence. Before we got there, I took the vial out of my pocket and pretended to bring it to my nose. "What's that?" one of the Zetas asked. "Nothing," I said. "Is it Coke?" "No." "Give me some." "It's not Coke." "Yes, it is. Give me some now." I reluctantly handed it over, and he shifted his weapon to hold it under one armpit, tapping a little powder into his open palm. The other gangster held out a hand, received a little, and the 2 of them held it to their noses and sniffed it up. They winced and blinked for a moment. Then their eyes glazed over. I watched them curiously, then held out my hand. When I had the vial back in my pocket, I asked how they felt. I got blank stares. "Stand on one foot," I said, and they did. Satisfied, I told them we were going to play a game. They were team captains, and at my signal, they had to shoot as many of their friends as they could and keep score. Then they had to come back and tell me who won. The first one to shoot Conejo would get 100 points automatically. They had to wait for me to snap my fingers, though. I figured it was a good, non-incriminating signal in case it didn't work. Much better than saying, "Kill him," and having it not happen. They thought it was a great idea. "Okay," I said. "You can put your feet back down now." So in Germany, they had this thing called Sippenhaft, kind of a guilty by association law, where an entire family would be wiped out because one relative had committed a crime. Like a traitor, for example, would obviously have treason in his blood, and therefore, everyone who shared that blood could be a potential traitor as well. There was also a threat of Sippenhaft for times when threatening somebody with torture and death wasn't enough. Germans are, on the whole, tough people, and maybe someone couldn't be scared by death or torture, but he'd care about about undeserved harm coming to his family, and that's a good way to bend some stubborn hero to your will. Now, they don't seem to have a word for that in Spanish, but the concept isn't new to the Zetas. During my interview with Conejo, he asked me for a list of next of kin, ostensibly so they could contact my family in case anything ever happened to me, and see that they were all taken care of. He was trying to play the buddy-buddy role, but I saw through it, and knew his idea of taken care of would be a lot different than what he offered. So I happily gave him the name of my next of kin, Elizabeth Morrow, and my bestest friends, Danny Contreras, Otto Oric, Toto, and Vinicio Gonzalez. After thinking a moment, I decided to add Belly Morales to the list, since she'd lied to set me up with Vinicio. When more Zetas showed up to find out what went down here, those names would be in Conejo's notebook, and I would get my revenge indirectly. Conejo then took me out to his bulletproof truck to show me an arsenal. Taking an AR-14 and handing it to me by the barrel, he said, "Shoot this." "Where?" "Right here. Shoot at anything you want." I assumed it was recently a murder weapon and he wanted my prints on it and powder burns on my hand. So I went back into the cantina to get some napkins. He smiled shrewdly and said, "Smart man. Don't bother shooting it. I know all I need to know." He took me back inside and showed me videos of what he had done to people who had betrayed him in the past. Maybe it was horrific in real life, but seeing slow beheadings on the small screen of a phone helped me not get the full impact. The tinny, faraway scream seemed almost fake, which helped a bit. What it looked like was they put a machete across the back of someone's neck and pounded on the blade with a hammer. It took 5 or 6 tries. No bag. Messy. These guys didn't mind getting blood all over them. I watched with no emotion at all, just going somewhere in my mind that was far away from that cantina. I rested my head in Christina's lap while she stroked my hair. I mean Molly's. Or, well, in Molly's lap too. I remember the smell of Christina's skin. I tried to compare the two of them, decide which I loved more, but the screens in the video were distracting me. Jesus. That was a real person on that video, wasn't it? But he brought it on himself, didn't he? Working for these guys. Or maybe he didn't have a choice, like me and the other migrants traveling with me. Maybe he got roped in. Next video, a guy screaming, "Please don't kill me! I didn't swear I didn't do anything. I've worked for you for 2 years and all I ever did was what you told me. Please!" Cigar cutter. Fingers. Trying to scream without air. They gave him something to keep him from passing out. Then they cut off his head. Very slowly. "Any bitch-ass don't do his job right," Conejo said, "same thing happens. I could get my ass killed for his bitch-ass. Don't take offense to this, but it could happen to you. You feel me?" I nodded, looking up at him. I had to be the one responsible for this asshole's death. I could not live the rest of my life, no matter how short it may be, knowing I let him continue to live. Even if it made me truly guilty, I was obligated to do it. This was my chance to do something that mattered. My entire life, with all the mistakes I had made, really just prepared me for this moment. "So what do you say?" he asked, sitting back in his chair. I raised my hand high above my head. I say, "God have mercy on me." And I snapped my fingers. Conejo frowned, then looked past my head, and his eyes went wide. A second later, there was a hot wind blowing past me, and he was flung backwards out of his chair. I winced at the blood that spattered my face, but I didn't blink. I stared at that tangle of limbs on the floor and listened to the giggling of 2 idiots behind me. I heard them saying, "100 points! 100 points for me! No, for me! No, for me!" "You both got him," I said quietly. "So that's 50 apiece." 100! I turned slowly to look at them over my shoulder. "You better go shoot some more then to get up to what you deserve to have. I'm counting." I could barely hear, just a ringing in my ears. The bartender got shot next. Then my 2 new friends ran out the door, and I faintly heard the paka-paka of scattered fire. I couldn't believe it worked. I still can't to this day. I went to Conejo's body, taking his phone with all the videos in it to show someone later, and got his wallet and keys. Reaching over the bar, I moved all the bottles of booze until I found water and took it outside. Climbing into the bulletproof Toyota Tundra, I drove back to the hotel, passing people shooting at one another to get Muddy V and the others. But they didn't come out, no matter how many times I honked. I guess I can't blame them for doing anything but hiding under their beds. I heard the body of the trunk taking occasional shots and didn't feel comfortable seeing just how bulletproof it was. I'm sorry. Maybe I should have been more of a hero, but this wasn't the movies. I just drove away, thanking God, and I didn't think about anything at all until much later, when miles of dust lay between me and that horrible place. I drove through a jungle, over mountains and valleys, and arrived eventually at a desert where I ran out of gas. Figures. Ask me if it was hot. Go ahead, ask me. Jesus Christ on a stick, was it hot. I wiped the truck down to my prints, left the keys inside, and started walking, wishing I knew where the hell I was going.